For months, former 90 Day Fiancé star Leida Margaretha has remained at the center of one of the franchise's most shocking legal stories. Every new court appearance has raised more questions than answers, and just when many believed the case was beginning to settle into a predictable pattern, another unexpected twist changed everything. This time, it wasn't a new accusation or a dramatic courtroom confrontation that caught everyone's attention. Instead, it was a sudden change in legal representation that immediately sparked speculation about what could happen next. Leida has officially hired a new attorney after a significant courtroom shakeup, and that single decision has reignited public interest in a case that has already attracted enormous attention from both longtime 90 Day Fiancé viewers and legal observers. The latest development came after changes inside the courtroom altered the direction of her defense. While legal teams changing during high-profile cases isn't unheard of, it often signals that important strategic decisions are being made behind the scenes. Whether those decisions are based on disagreements, preparation for trial, or a completely different legal approach, the timing has left many wondering what prompted the move. For followers of the case, the news arrived as another reminder that the legal battle is far from over. Instead of moving toward a quick resolution, the proceedings continue to become more complicated with every passing hearing. Many fans remember Leida from her controversial appearance on 90 Day Fiancé. During her season, she quickly became one of the franchise's most talked-about cast members. Her relationship with Eric Rosenbrook generated constant debate, and her conflicts with members of Eric's family made headlines across reality TV communities. Even years after leaving the show, opinions about her remained sharply divided. But today, the conversation is no longer centered on reality television drama. Instead, it's focused on serious legal matters that carry real-life consequences. As the courtroom proceedings continue, every legal filing and every hearing has become closely watched. Supporters hope the legal system will fairly examine all available evidence, while critics continue questioning many of the decisions that have unfolded throughout the case. The appointment of a new attorney immediately changes the dynamics. A fresh legal team often reviews every document from the beginning, studies witness statements, examines prosecution evidence, and may even introduce entirely different legal strategies. That process can sometimes slow a case down, but it can also dramatically reshape the defense. Legal experts often explain that attorneys entering an ongoing case face enormous pressure. They must quickly understand thousands of pages of documents, previous court rulings, evidence, deadlines, and procedural requirements. Missing even a small detail could affect future hearings. Because of that, many observers believe Leida's new lawyer now faces an enormous challenge. Every upcoming decision could influence how the case develops over the coming weeks and months. Meanwhile, online discussions have exploded following the announcement. As news of Leida Margaretha's new attorney spread, many people immediately began asking the same question: what happens next? While changing lawyers does not automatically change the outcome of a criminal case, it can significantly affect how the defense moves forward. Every new attorney brings a different style, different priorities, and sometimes a completely different strategy. One of the first responsibilities of the new legal team will likely be reviewing everything that has happened so far. That includes court filings, previous hearings, witness statements, evidence presented by prosecutors, and any motions that have already been filed. This process takes time, especially in a case that has already experienced several important developments. Because of that, some legal observers believe the defense could request additional time to prepare before future proceedings continue. Whether the court grants that request depends on several factors, including scheduling, procedural rules, and the judge's decision. Meanwhile, public interest in the case continues to grow. Many longtime 90 Day Fiancé fans have followed Leida's story since her reality television debut. Back then, viewers mostly discussed relationship drama, family conflicts, and controversial moments shown on screen. Few could have predicted that years later, the headlines surrounding her name would involve a serious courtroom battle instead of reality TV storylines. Every update has generated thousands of comments online. Some viewers argue that everyone deserves a fair legal process regardless of their public reputation. Others point to Leida's controversial past on television and say public opinion has already been shaped by years of criticism. Still, legal experts often remind people that court decisions are based on evidence and applicable law, not internet discussions or reality TV fame. Another reason the attorney change has attracted so much attention is because timing matters. Legal teams rarely make significant changes in the middle of important proceedings unless they believe doing so could improve their position. That doesn't necessarily mean something went wrong with the previous defense, but it does suggest that a different approach is now being considered. The prosecution, however, continues preparing its own case, regardless of who represents the defendant. Prosecutors typically continue organizing evidence, preparing witnesses, and responding to any motions filed by the defense. In other words, while one side adjusts to a new attorney, the legal process itself keeps moving forward. Courtroom changes like this can also influence scheduling. Hearings may proceed as planned, or they may be delayed if the new attorney needs more time to become familiar with the case. Those decisions ultimately rest with the court. Outside the courtroom, the public conversation remains intense. Social media platforms, fan pages, and entertainment blogs continue analyzing every document and every update. Some users believe the attorney switch signals confidence in a new legal strategy, while others think it reflects the increasing complexity of the case. Despite all the online theories, very few facts have been confirmed beyond the attorney change itself. That is why many legal analysts urge the public to avoid jumping to conclusions before additional court proceedings take place. Cases like this often evolve over time, and major developments can occur with little warning. For Leida, the road ahead remains uncertain. A new attorney may provide a fresh perspective, but the challenges of defending a high-profile case remain substantial. Every hearing, every filing, and every ruling could shape what happens next. As the next court date approaches, one thing is becoming increasingly clear: this legal battle is entering a new chapter. With a different lawyer now leading the defense, many observers will be watching closely to see whether this decision changes the direction of the case or whether it simply becomes another dramatic twist in an already highly publicized legal saga. As the legal process moves forward, attention is no longer focused solely on the charges or the courtroom itself. Now, many observers are closely watching how Leida Margaretha's new attorney handles the case. In high-profile legal battles, the first few appearances by a new defense lawyer often reveal the strategy that will shape everything that follows. One of the biggest questions is whether the defense will continue with the same arguments presented earlier or introduce an entirely different approach. A new attorney may decide to challenge certain pieces of evidence, request additional motions, or ask the court for more time to prepare. These are common legal options, but whether any of them will be used remains unknown until future court proceedings take place. Another factor drawing attention is the amount of public interest surrounding the case. Because Leida was once a familiar face on 90 Day Fiancé, every courtroom update quickly becomes entertainment news as well as legal news. Articles, social media posts, and fan discussions appear almost immediately after each new development, making it difficult for the case to stay out of the spotlight. Some fans believe the intense media attention places extra pressure on everyone involved, including the attorneys. Every statement made inside or outside the courtroom is carefully examined, and even small procedural changes often become major headlines online. While that public attention doesn't determine the outcome of the case, it does create an environment where every decision receives far more scrutiny than an ordinary legal proceeding. Legal analysts have pointed out that changing attorneys during an active case can sometimes create both opportunities and challenges. On one hand, a fresh legal perspective may uncover arguments that were previously overlooked. On the other hand, the new attorney must quickly become familiar with a complex case file, review previous hearings, understand all existing evidence, and prepare for upcoming court dates, all within a limited amount of time. That balancing act is never easy, especially in a case that has already attracted national attention. Every deadline matters, and every filing must be completed accurately. Even minor procedural mistakes can have significant consequences during a criminal case. Meanwhile, online speculation continues to grow. Some viewers believe the attorney change suggests the defense is preparing for a more aggressive legal strategy. Others think it simply reflects a routine professional decision. At this point, however, there has been no official confirmation explaining the exact reason behind the change, leaving many questions unanswered. Throughout this process, the court remains focused on evidence and legal procedure rather than public opinion. Judges base their rulings on the law, the facts presented in court, and the arguments made by both sides. Regardless of how much discussion takes place online, those legal standards remain the foundation of every decision. For Leida, the coming weeks could be especially important. Each new hearing may provide additional insight into how her defense intends to move forward. The prosecution will also continue presenting its case, ensuring that both sides have the opportunity to argue their positions before the court. With a new attorney now officially representing her, expectations are high that future hearings could look very different from those that came before. Whether those differences ultimately benefit the defense is something only time and the court will determine. One thing is certain, this latest courtroom shakeup has added another unexpected chapter to an already closely watched legal battle. And as more hearings take place, the story is likely to remain one of the most talked about involving a former 90-Day Fiancé cast member. Now, all eyes are turning toward the next phase of the court proceedings. With a new attorney officially taking over Leida Margaretha's defense, the upcoming hearings could provide the clearest indication yet of how the case will move forward. Whether the legal strategy changes dramatically or remains largely the same, every appearance in court is expected to draw significant attention. For many followers of the story, the biggest question is no longer why the attorney changed, but what impact that decision will have. A new lawyer often brings a fresh perspective, carefully reviewing every piece of evidence, every witness statement, and every ruling that has already been made. In some cases, that can lead to new motions or different legal arguments. In others, the attorney may decide that the existing strategy remains the strongest path forward. At this stage, however, the answers remain inside the courtroom. Public speculation continues to circulate across social media, but those discussions do not determine the outcome of a criminal case. The final decisions will be based on the evidence presented, the legal arguments from both sides, and the rulings of the court. This situation also serves as a reminder of how dramatically life can change for reality television personalities. Years ago, Leida Margaretha was making headlines because of relationship drama and family conflicts on 90 Day Fiancé. Today, the focus has shifted entirely to a legal case that carries consequences far beyond television. The contrast is striking. A person once known primarily for controversial moments on a reality show is now being discussed in legal circles, with every court filing becoming front-page entertainment news. It highlights how public figures often remain in the spotlight long after their television careers have ended. Meanwhile, the prosecution continues preparing for the next stages of the case. As with any criminal proceeding, both sides will have opportunities to present evidence, respond to legal arguments, and address the court before any final outcome is reached. That process can be lengthy, and unexpected developments are always possible. Legal experts frequently remind the public that cases involving multiple hearings often evolve over time. New filings, scheduling changes, procedural rulings, or additional evidence can all influence the pace and direction of the proceedings. For that reason, many caution against assuming what the final outcome will be before the legal process has run its course. As the next hearing approaches, attention is expected to remain high. News organizations, reality TV fans, and courtroom observers will all be watching for signs of the new attorney's strategy. Every motion filed, every statement made in court, and every judicial decision could become another major headline. Regardless of public opinion, one principle remains unchanged. Every defendant is entitled to legal representation and due process under the law. The courtroom, not social media, is where the facts of the case will ultimately be examined and decided. For now, the appointment of a new attorney marks the beginning of another chapter in an already complex legal battle. It doesn't answer the many questions surrounding the case, but it does signal that the defense is entering a new phase. Whether that change will alter the course of the proceedings remains to be seen. Until the court reaches its next major milestone, the case will likely continue to generate intense discussion among 90 Day Fiancé fans and legal observers alike. One thing is certain, with every new hearing, the story continues to evolve, and many believe the biggest developments may still be ahead.